Most people know that following up after an interview is key to a successful interview. So, whether or not you did well in the interview is definitely a huge part of the interview process. But even after the interview, you need to use this opportunity to follow up effectively. So, what do I mean by that? What I recommend and what I've seen success with is go ahead and follow up 30 minutes to an hour after the interview. Now, a lot of you may be saying, whoa, 30 minutes to an hour after the interview, like I just left the room or I just turned off my webcam after a virtual meeting. But the reason I say 30 minutes to an hour is because everyone who is interviewing will be following up that evening. Everyone who is interviewing may be following up 1 or 2 days later. So, the number one thing is your email follow up is going to be the number one email in their inbox when they go to see these follow ups. And they're all going to be generic, right? They're all going to say, "Thank you for your time today at the interview. I enjoyed the opportunity to talk with the team. Please let me know right away when you'll be making a decision." So that's what everyone's going to say. They're going to say something like that. And this is another opportunity for you to differentiate yourself. And at every step of the process, whether that's looking for a job or landing an interview or applying for jobs or following up after an interview or any point in the process of getting a Salesforce job, it is extremely important to be intentional about what you're doing. And part of that is following up on the interview and making sure that the email that you send is intentional. So, what is our intention? Our intention is once again to separate ourselves from the competition and make sure that if someone did better than us in the interview, or if the hiring manager has any question about hiring you, that you are going to put them at ease and you are going to make sure that you give yourself the best opportunity to land this position. So, how are we going to do that? So, like I just mentioned, we're going to follow up 30 minutes to an hour after the interview. Why are we doing that? Number one, like I said, we're going to be the first email they look at when they go to review their emails. Why else are we going to do this? Okay. We are doing this because this is our opportunity to separate ourselves. How are we going to separate ourselves? So, what we're going to do is as soon as the interview is over, if it's on site, go to your car, write down some notes about the interview. If it's virtual, as soon as your webcam shuts off, write down some notes about the interview. And what do we want to know? Number one, we want to remember if there was a connection, if everybody had a laugh about something, if everybody felt like part of the conversation was meaningful, if you ever saw the interviewers sort of have a wow effect, then make sure you follow up with that. Like, I really enjoyed your question about this, and remind them about that question that you answered so well. You could say, "I've never heard that before. And I just wanted to let you know I thought that was an awesome question. And I hope you responded well to the answer that I gave." Now, the other side of that is some negative things could have happened in the interview. You could have been hit with some questions where you had to say, "I'm not 100% sure about that, but I'm sure that I could figure it out." Or you may have had to guess at something where you thought you knew it 70% of the way, but you weren't quite sure about some aspects of it. And you left feeling a little uncertain if your answer was the best answer. So those are the really key pieces, is saying, what do I think I did wrong, especially in a technical interview where I could have answered a question better? That's key. So what we're going to do is right away, we're going to write down, what is it I struggled with? What is it I had questions on or I wasn't sure on? Immediately, we're going to go to Trailhead, to Google, to friends in the network, to our Facebook groups. And we're going to say, "Hey guys, I just finished an interview," and whether it's on Google or anywhere else, and you're going to type in, they ask a specific question about this. What would the correct answer have been? You're going to Google, try to do some quick trailheads on whatever that topic was if you weren't sure about it. And what you're going to do is you're going to follow up with the client right away. Like I said, 30 minutes to an hour. And you're going to say the typical stuff. You're going to say, "Thank you for your time today. Thank you for the time going through the interview. I know that you guys are busy. It sounds like you have a lot of pain points in this area. And I think I can be a huge factor in making those pains go away and improving Salesforce continually for your company." Now, there were a couple of things that came up in the interview, specifically topic number one. I don't feel like I answered that to the best of my abilities. And I went back and I did some research right after the interview. And I found that this is definitely the best information. Here's a link to a knowledge article about that topic and why I know this is the correct answer at this point. And what you're showing them is that number one, you're focused and you're motivated. As soon as you hung up that interview, you went and jumped in on Salesforce knowledge articles. Number two, it shows them that it doesn't take you 24 hours to come up with an answer. It doesn't take you 4 hours to come up with an answer. It took you 30 minutes to an hour to already have emailed them with knowledge article representation of why your answers are now the correct answer. So, what does that mean? Even if you bombed the interview and got a couple of simple things wrong, and maybe somebody came in with 2 or 3 years experience after you and got a couple of those things right, but they didn't use some of the tactics that we talk about in their interview process, so they didn't stand out as much in other areas. Plus, they didn't follow up until that evening, say 8 hours later, and maybe they got a few things wrong. A manager is not going to be impressed that you can come up with the right answer 8 hours later. They're going to be impressed that you can come up with the right answer in 30 minutes to an hour. Now, the other key thing is when you're following up that 30 minutes to an hour later is you stand a chance that after your interview, they might be taking a break. They might be grabbing lunch. They might be going and working for a little while before their next interview. So there is a very good chance that they're actually going to see your email come through before they even interview the next person. And they'll immediately know, like, whoa, this guy just left the room and he's already followed up with us. And look at all the detail he put into this. Like, this would have taken an hour for us to figure out. And not only did this person figure it out in an hour, they have knowledge articles. It's all about what we talked about in the interview. This is huge. So you don't want your follow-ups to be naggy, like, hey, please let me know when you got to answer. I really want this job. You want to come with passion and with a product and say, hey, I appreciate your time at the interview. I think I am the best candidate for this job. And here are a few of the questions that I struggled with in the interview, but I wanted to let you know I've got the answer now. And I hope you can see that I'm motivated and I will be able to come up with the correct answers very quickly. So I hope this shows my dedication. I look forward to hearing with you. Have a wonderful day, wonderful weekend, whatever it is. So that's how you want to follow up on interviews. And once again, this is not just a thank you where you look like everyone else. This is a way to separate yourself from the competition and show them that you are the one that deserves the job.